I'm Kaylee, and today I'm going to tell you about the top 10 middle grade books that I've read in the last 10 years. If you follow my reading, then you know that I do love to read middle grade books. I probably read more middle grade than anything else. And so, of course, over the last 10 years, I have probably read hundreds of middle grade books. So it was very difficult to nail it down to only 10, but I think I've got my list down to just 10. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you know that Books for MKs is a charity that donates books to missionary kids. Today's MK shout out goes to Jude, who is 9 years old and lives with his family in Bulgaria. He loves airplanes and dinosaurs and ninjas. If you want to donate to Jude and children like him, you can donate to the Books for MKs charity at GoFundMe.com. And please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give this video a big thumbs up. These are not in any particular order, so I'm just going to tell you them as I happened to write them down on my list. The first one is a continuation of the Wind in the Willows book by Kenneth Grahame. This is a series that was written by William Horwood. I believe it starts with the Willows in Winter, you have the Willows at Christmas, the Willows and Beyond. There's a whole bunch of them. I completely fell in love with this series, first of all because I just love the original Wind in the Willows, and because William Horwood perfectly mimics the writing style of Kenneth Grahame so that it really feels like a continuation of the story. The next one is the Mysterious Benedict Society books by Trenton Lee Stewart. There are several books in this series and I love every single one. This is all about these children who are unique in some way. They're geniuses, or they're amazing athletes, or they have some kind of something that makes them truly special and unique. And Mr. Benedict recruits them to go up against an evil villain. The Mysterious Benedict Society books are all full of puzzles and codes and mystery and suspense and really emotional friendships. And oh, I just love these books so much. They have so many of the good things that I look for in a middle grade book. In the last 10 years, I have gradually been reading the Penderwicks series. This is about these sisters in the Penderwick family and how they go through these little adventures, you know, and they each kind of have their own coming-of-age story. What makes these books so special is the beautiful connections between the sisters and how quirky and weird they all are. They all have their own funny little quirks and weird little things that they do and their own cute little habits and everything. It makes it really, really engaging and fun to read about these sisters. I've also read The Giver Quartet. Each of these books focuses on a different character in this world, and although their stories are very widely different, very, very separate in different communities, in different cultures, each of them has kind of an underlying theme that connects all of their stories together, and by the time you get to the end of the series, then these characters have met and their stories have intertwined. Each of these are, I would say, like very serious stories with very deep themes and real emotional punches. They definitely have an impact on the reader, and all the little details of the story come together just so beautifully. I also love the Charlie Bone series. This has been compared to Harry Potter because the children in this book attend a magic school. However, each child is gifted with one magical ability that they can do. So it's not like they go to this school to learn all these different types of magic. They each have their one special gift, which is their one magical ability, and that's the only thing that they can do. They can't do other magic. So for instance, there is a boy who can talk to animals. There's a boy who can control the weather. Some people are just really, really good at music, like they can play music and everyone will stop to listen. Some people can control electricity. Some people can actually jump into photographs and interact and talk to the people inside the photograph or painting. So there's a lot of really unique and interesting abilities that like, oh, weird, you know. So maybe you could call it more of a superpower, a magic ability, I don't know, whatever. There is lots of mystery and adventure and like tragedy and heartbreak, and then they triumph over the bad guys. There's all kinds of just wonderful, wonderful plot twists in the Charlie Bone series, and they're wonderfully written. You just cannot put the book down because there's so much going on. I also fell in love with the Castle Glower series, which starts with Tuesdays at the Castle. This is about a royal family and a royal princess, and they all live in this magic castle that is constantly moving the rooms around. The castle is sort of sentient in a way, and so the castle will move things around, or it can like steal food from you from the kitchens. It'll move the kitchen pantry so that you can go and get yourself some food. All kinds of weird stuff like that. And there is a mysterious magical past and history to the castle. So throughout the series, the princess and her siblings and her parents, they all start to discover this magical past of who actually built the castle and what wizards set like certain spells in place in the castle so that it would act the way it does. So there's a lot of adventure and mystery. The best thing about the Castle Glower series, though, is the wonderful character development. All the characters are constantly changing and learning, and their relationships with one another deepen, and I just love that good character development. Now, this next one is a series that I reread in the last 10 years, but I did not read it for the first time in the last 10 years, but I love it so much, I just have to include it. It's The Dark is Rising series by Susan Cooper. Now, funnily enough, The Dark is Rising is actually the second book in this series. The first book is Oversea Under Stone. This one is epic, old-time fantasy. It draws on a lot of old myths and King Arthur legends and stuff, but it's set like in the 1950s or something, I think, because people love cars and everything. I really, really love how intricate the magic is and how deep and historical it feels. I adore every single book in this series. It is really vibrant, and oh, I just adore it. Just in the last couple of years, I have been reading the Explorer Academy series by Trudy Truitt. This is put out by National Geographic, so you know it is really good. And this is another one that is full of puzzles and codes and mysteries, so you know I completely fell in love with it. And there's amazing character development, just everything that I could ever wish for in a book. The Explorer Academy series, they've got it. This is about a young man named Cruz who becomes a student at the Explorer Academy. And so he has classes in things like conservation and helping whales and, exploring mountaintops and, taking scientific readings of stuff and how to survive in the wild and archaeology and just all kinds of stuff. Just everything you can imagine of like scientists and explorers. Those are the classes that he has to take. And of course, he and his classmates go exploring all around the world. However, at the same time, he's trying to solve a mystery that was left for him by his mother after her decease. So she left these various clues around the academy and around the world that he is trying to unravel these clues and find out what is this message that his mother has left for him. There's just so much going on different levels. Like there's the really fun classes, and then there's kind of this spies that are trying to track, Cruz and figure out this message of his mother's. And so there's a lot of emotional stuff. There's a lot of action going on. Oh, I just can't wait for the next book in that series. I would be very remiss if I did not include some Rick Riordan in here somewhere. So, of course, Heroes of Olympus is right at the top of my Rick Riordan favorites list. If you have yet to jump into the Percy Jackson world, I would recommend reading Percy Jackson first, because then this is more of a spin-off series that continues after the Percy Jackson books are done. So you won't really know who the characters are or what's going on if you haven't already read the Percy Jackson series, and then come in and read the Heroes of Olympus series. Percy Jackson definitely starts out more juvenile and kind of more silly and funny and everything, but then Heroes of Olympus, it gets a little more serious. You still have a lot more of the humor, but there are a lot more deep themes. The characters are growing up, and so the writing sort of grows up with them. So that's why Heroes of Olympus is definitely one of my favorites. Again, we get these deep themes with these old gods and these ancient myths. So we have a lot of that magic and fantasy in there, but it all feels just very ancient. There's wonderful character development and hilarious characters and just like really funny sidekicks, you know. The storylines for some of these characters are so emotional. It will just break your heart and then repair your heart and then break your heart again. And then like, okay, I'll give you a little tidbit of happiness so you just think maybe that character is gonna be okay, and then they break your heart again. It's really just a wild ride through this entire series, both with the action and the plot twists and the magic, and also with the characters. And the last one I have on this list is Rebel Genius. This is set in a fantasy world where any kind of magic has been completely banned by the government, and so no one is allowed to use any sort of magical abilities. These young teenagers who have shown that they have a propensity to use this art gift, they go underground and they start learning in secret. And of course they go on a quest and they have to learn to trust one another, and there's a lot of suspense and adventure and action, but there's also so many good characters. This one has been compared to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and you definitely see some of those elements in there with the characters, and then they go on this quest. So there is some similarity in there, but this one really is just its own story with its own unique style. And those are my top 10 middle grade books that I have read in the last 10 years. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what is one of your favorite middle grade series, especially if it's fantasy, because you know I love my fantasy. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.